Hi everyone, my name is Nehal. Probably you have seen me walking around. I help out Alex with this meetup. Progressive web app. So first of all, I didn't know what was progressive web app, so I looked up on Google what is progressive web app. And a paper comes up, or Wikipedia article comes up that tells me that it was a paper written in 2015 by two Google guys, which means progressive web app is a new thing. So in short word, what it is they said that in today's time with the technology we have, a web application should behave like a native application on the phones. That means when you open it, it should behave natively responsive way. So what does that mean? I'll show a demo. So I turned off my Wi-Fi and my phone network, and I'll try to access Angular.io. So basically that's what I get, like it doesn't open. But I saved it as a PWA on my phone here, and if I open it, it says I don't have cellular data and but the application opens just like a regular app. But it's not AngularIO app, it's just AngularIO website we're all familiar with. So probably will open a page too. So without any network, it's still behaving, which is pretty neat. So the point of PWA is like you want to make your app like that too. So if the user saves it like that and it behaves natively, even though there's no network or anything, at least the startup screen should come up. And they introduced this PWA thing in Angular 5 and upwards. So it's pretty new, and pretty much I said what it does. So service worker, what it does is it caches your application stuff. So some of the stuff it caches is your index.html, basically the startup file. The fav icon is the icon you provide. It will show up on your phone if you store it as an application, both Android or iOS or any other version. Build artifacts are some of the JS and CSS initial files. And then any other assets, basically in the assets folder, whatever pictures you have, it will cache them. So that means every time a user loads the application, it won't pull down everything from server again. It will only just load up from cache, which saves both data and time. The process is basically update happens. So the first time the user opens, of course, it will pull down everything from the beginning. But second time onward, it will just look in the background for updates, and if it sees any update, it will just update those things. So it basically doing a little service worker stuff behind the scenes. The benefits, as I demoed in the beginning, your web application will behave like native application, and the other one is saving bandwidth and resources, like I said in the beginning. The only one downfall is service worker is supported in Chrome and Firefox. So if you're using IE, I don't know about Edge, so those two might not allow you to save it as PWA. So now we're going to straight jump into how it works. So thanks to Angular 6, they made a CLI command to do all this work. So one command will do the magic for you. So it's actually more to talk about than actually implement service worker. So I created a very plain application with CLI, ng-new, and AngularNYC service worker. So I'm going to run the command from here. And the project name would be whatever you named it. So if you see on top, mine is AngularNYC SW, so it has to be the exact name. That's big enough. It's in the slide. It's I'll show you again. So it's ng add. Okay, I'll open the slide. It's ng add Angular PWA -- project and your project name. If you run it at the source level, probably it's done setup. So when it runs that command, it does few things. First of all, in index.html, it puts in few stuff. It adds a manifest, it adds your theme, that adds the icon basically, the fav icon, and adds two files basically, manifest.json and ng service worker.json. So it's somewhere here. Now these two files, this file tells you basically this is the configuration file for service worker. You tell it how it should fetch the files. So as you can see, here's lazy and prefetch. Lazy is basically you're going to tell service worker which files to pull. It won't pull it automatically. Prefetch, service worker will do the pulling work. It will just automatically check for update and pull the new files. So there are only 2 modes available. And these, as you can see, straightforward what you're trying to pull from service worker, what you want to cache on the server side. If you go to manifest, there are more configuration like the name, short name, all these assets and icon stuff that you want to cache. So that is the setup part. Now the testing part, how do we test that service worker is working? So because I already implemented a service worker, I'm going to run it the regular way, and let's see if it does the service worker job. So by regular way, I mean I'm going to run npm start. All right, so go here, localhost 4200. So as you can see, this took like 351 milliseconds, but there's no service worker involved, because whenever service worker works, you'll see something called NGSW. So how do we do the testing part is, I put down the commands in the slide also. So first you pull down, you do a build for it. So as this is building, it will create a disk file, as you all know. And once you have the disk file, in the meantime, I'm going to copy this command. So this npmi server, HTTP server, allows you to just run a mock server to run your deployed, run your build. So npm install HTTP server. Oh, okay, I know where. So sometimes copy paste doesn't work. All right, I installed it. I went to my disk. And then the next one is just running the version on port 8080. So if I open now localhost, before that, I'll open the. So it's saying it's fetching, but it's missing out on stuff. So I don't know. Something. So I guess it's not working here. So the point of this demo was when you run this, it will basically pull down and it will show you this is service worker. So when you actually basically run this like offline and you refresh the application, it should basically load it. So the point is, let me see if this one works. So what I'm trying to say is this should work. So if I hit it offline, so what I wanted to say was you see all this ng worker happening, right? And now I clicked offline. Basically, that means I have no internet connection. If I refresh this page, the application should still load. And it's still like loading in like 2.99 seconds. If I didn't have service worker, and if I try to load something, so Google has service worker, so I have to find a random website that doesn't have it, let's say. So this says it doesn't have connection, but this should load. So that's the point of service worker. So even though you don't have connection, your application will still load, and it will load because it's cached. And that means each time you do initial load, you will save on the bandwidth of the user. Let's say your initial load was 1.6 or 2 MB. If people who don't have that much data plan, like they have 1 GB data plan, 2 MB is a lot for them. So each time they're loading the application, you're saving them 2 MB of data. Also, you're getting much faster load time because it's not coming from the server, it's just loading straight from cache. Because my demos are not working, I'll just head straight to the service worker guide and tell you guys how you can configure and do some other stuff. Oh yeah, communication with service worker. So you can easily import SDW update, and basically whenever there's a new version available, if the user loads an old version and there's a new version available, you can do a pop-up saying, hey, there's a new version available, reload the page. If you don't want to do that, if you want to force it by yourself, you can check like for updates. And when the updates are available, you can force the reload by yourself. And that's another configuration they provide you. Also, this configuration is basically you tell service worker which files to pull in. So like some other things like Rubicon was talking before, that they had needed to implement lazy load and pull in components on demand. Implementing on top of service worker would be caching those components and probably just reload them with if there's some static stuff on the component, we'll just store it. And on top of it, you pull in the new data and you just put it in. So that will also save on the bandwidth of pulling the component each time via lazy loading. So those are some very good benefits of service worker. And as you can see, only one command can set it up in your application. So might as well not do it. Why not do it and make it into a progressive web app? So users can also store it on their phone and they can load it whenever they want. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Questions? Yes.
Is there any help given through PWA to help you manage state offline? So like if you were to like save something and then
that would go back to the first talk, like managing state. If you want to have NGRX, if you have NGRX, you might want to use local storage. But if you don't have NGRX, you manually have to use local storage to do that. So that would be one way of doing it.
6, along with the new schemas, this is a nice sort of feature that I provided. This everything you have assumes you're not accessing any of the native features.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the native features.
Like he said, are there configurations how much you can cache? I haven't looked at it yet.
Yes, yes. So if you go here in their configuration, you can actually precisely tell what you want to store in. Basically, it will go in the manifest. So if you come here, manifest, you can precisely tell which files you want to store and you don't want to store. And also, you can change the settings to make it lazy instead of prefetch. So you actually tell service worker which files to pull in for update rather than it.
If you didn't have it lazy in your application, it'll make it lazy?
No, it will make it prefetch and it will look for the ones you haven't mentioned. But if you mention and you make it lazy, then it will, like, basically you're telling service worker, hey, look for this file and look for if this is updated or not. So that's the difference.
Is it running as a separate thread in the browser?
Yes, I haven't looked at it actually, but it's running behind this in the background, so I'm pretty sure it's a separate thread. Because it doesn't interfere with your regular work. And one thing about finding the new update, so once you build and if you have changes, the first time you deploy, and if the user opens the website, they won't see the change. What will happen is service worker will make the call behind the scenes to see, oh, there's a new version available. It will pull down the whole version, and then if you have that configuration to pop up something, tell the user reload, they reload, they'll see the new one, or else they'll see it the next time they open the page.
It has to do with the browser too, right? So Chrome used to be thread-driven, now it's process-driven.
So it will be Chrome and Firefox,
yeah. Thread, but I think Firefox is still process-driven. So that service worker should still be a separate process, not a thread.
Okay. And I don't know if it makes any sense, but only one service worker per application, or is it possible to spawn a second service worker?
I mean, what would be the necessity of having, so it's like, it's the service worker is pulling in basically doing one job. So currently they have only one service worker.
If you're writing a multi-threaded application, there's plenty of reasons why you'd want extra threads.
But JavaScript runs on one thread, so.
Yeah, so basically from now on, writing Angular, it's cheap, in 30 seconds you have a PWA.
Yeah.
You just might as well do it.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, you're just doing npm install, might as well run the next command, the other one, so make it part of,
Last question. You did mention that it had advantages for mobile devices that might not have great network resources.
Yeah, like I was saying, like I don't have any network, but you can open the app.
Understood. But let's say majority of users are using desktop, laptop environments. Do you still see benefits using those type of environments?
Yeah. If you don't have internet access, or you're sometimes what I used to have with my previous ISP is like my Wi-Fi is connected, but actually there's no feed of data.
What about just page loads in itself, just having some of the pages cached?
You're saying the auto caching by the browser that it does? Well, it's not guaranteed. Like, I mean, I don't know how actually the browser caching works, but this actually guarantees the files you're telling to cache will be cached. So it's more of like a guarantee versus you're taking a shot at the browser or putting faith on the browser.